Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we're playing another premiere draft of Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, and we've got some pretty fun stuff in our uncommons and rares. I think that in our uncommons here, Faraday Devil's Chosen is quite the card. Blue and red have a lot of dice rolling. This is especially good on in conjunction with cards that roll a die every time they attack, like Hoarding Ogre. Just being able to draw a bunch of cards throughout the game and give you a nice Flying Menace threat is pretty great. There's also Rogue class at rare. Have not played with this card before, but it is doing what blue and black want to do in this format. They have a lot of creatures that have good abilities when they deal combat damage to a player, and this gives them even more. Now you get to exile the top card of their library face down, and look at it and play it as long as it's exiled if you make this all the way to level 3. So it kind of turns all your creatures into a miniature little Thief of Sanity, which is really, really good. Giving all your creatures menace is pretty relevant with a lot of the blue and black cards like Soul Knife Spy as well. So I kind of want to roll with the Rogue class here and see if we can't get a great blue-black deck going. Outside of that, there was like an Owl Bear there, which is a great common, but Rogue class looks like a fun card to try out, so I'll see if we can't get the Rogue class working today. So here we have Eccentric Apprentice, 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer, and you venture into the dungeon when you play it. The next effect on it isn't particularly relevant, but if you complete a dungeon, turning something into a 1/1 flyer every turn can be good at shutting down one of your opponent's blockers, if they have like a 5/5 flyer that could block this thing, or making one of your non-flying creatures like a 1/1 goblin a flyer to hit them with. There's also Precipitous Drop and Spoils of the Hunt. I think those are really the only 3 cards I'm looking at here. Everything else is pretty filler. Spoils of the Hunt being the green removal spell. Precipitous Drop being somewhat removal that ventures into the dungeon. I think I'll just go with the Eccentric Apprentice here, get us a nice evasive blue creature. Alright, Thieves' Tools is going to work well with a Rogue class. It's going to work well in blue-black with a lot of creatures that have good abilities when they deal combat damage to an opponent. That being said, I think it's just a solid card here. I think there is one better card in this pack. This is a pretty weak pack all around, but I think the best card in here is Priest of Ancient Lore. 3 mana for a 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, you gain a life and draw a card, so it just gives you great value when you play it, replacing itself, making sure you still have things to cast afterwards. I think the Priest of Ancient Lore is enough better than the Thieves' Tools. I'm going to scoop it up here. Don't want to get completely married to blue-black here. We should leave ourselves open to, if white ends up being more open, ending up in that color instead. And here again, I feel like we don't have anything great in our colors. There's Baleful Beholder, which is a solid 6-drop in black, but you can pick those up later usually. And in blue, I don't love Clever Conjurer unless we're like blue-green ramp. Pixie Guy, don't love it unless we're blue-red. Dice rolling, and don't really like these temporary removal spells. Do come to a River and Power Persuasion. My favorite cards in here are red. I like Hoarding Ogre and Valor Singer quite a bit. Just good. A good aggressive card here, and then Hoarding Ogre giving those treasure tokens, allowing you to ramp into some big 5/6 drop cards. I think I'll just take a Hoarding Ogre here. Again, just not seeing a lot in the Rogue class colors that we started off with. Nothing that combos particularly well with it. Clever Conjurer and Vampire Spawn, both slower cards, don't do anything when they deal combat damage to an opponent. We just have the Ray of Frost as one of the weaker removal spells. It's a Charmed Sleep that only works if the creature's red. Otherwise, you have to wait until the creature is tapped and then throw the Ray of Frost onto it. So really, I'm not a massive fan of the Ray of Frost. I do like Hobgoblin Captain quite a bit, though, in red. Just a great aggressive creature. A 3/1 for 2 mana that potentially gets first strike when it attacks later on, making it very hard to block. I think I will take that to go with our Hoarding Ogre. Got a great start to some red stuff here. Now we have Minimus Containment and another Hoarding Ogre. Could go for Minimus Containment here. Maybe we're pushing into red and white now, but I think these are the strongest cards in the pack. Minimus Containment being a great unconditional removal spell, turning any non-land permanent into a treasure token. The only problem with Minimus Containment being that some decks can have main deck enchantment hate, and if they do, it's going to feel bad when they drop their Baleful Beholder and destroy the Minimus Containment, or drop their Dawnbringer Cleric and destroy Minimus Containment. It's always a terrible time. But all in all, I think Minimus Containment is really good. So now, I don't love Kick in the Door unless you're very, very aggressive to where you're really getting a lot of use out of the haste. None of these other non-green commons look that great to me. I like Druid class because it gives you a great, just massive creature late game. If you make this to level 3, it'll make a big old creature with haste and power toughness equal to the lands you control. There's also Spoils of the Hunt, which is a good green removal spell. Like both of these. I'm going to go with the Druid class here. But I don't think we're super likely to be in green. I just think that those cards are much better than the other ones in the pack. So leaving ourselves open to that reality is probably better than getting just a filler card in a different color. And at this point, because all these commons are relatively mediocre, Air Quolt Elemental's a pretty good 6-drop. But other than that, everything's pretty mediocre here. So I kind of like taking the colorless one, Spiked Pit Trap. That gives us a removal spell no matter what colors we end up in. Because I am not certain what colors I'll end up playing here at this point. I do like Secret Door giving us a late game mana sink to venture into, or alternatively an early game blocker to block aggressive decks, just a 0-4 on turn 1. But Celestial Unicorn's really good in a deck with a lot of life gain in it, particularly in green-white life gain, and we have a couple cards that'll work great in that deck. We have Priest of Ancient Lore and Druid class. Druid class giving us a life whenever we play land, Priest of Ancient Lore giving us a life when we play it. So we already have some good combos with Celestial Unicorn if we end up going in that direction. So I'll scoop that up there. Now we have Little Bounce spell, a 1/3, a 1/1 that grabs a land, a little plus toughness combat trick. Don't really love any of this stuff. I'll just take the random 3 mana 2/3 Gloom Stalker there. And I'm pretty sure we're in white. That is about the one thing I'm sure about here. So we'll take a +2 Mace, just a decent equipment to fill out the deck with. Makes your early game creatures stay relevant later in the game, like all of a sudden our Priest of Ancient Lore. By the time our opponent starts casting Owl Bears that are 4/4s and stuff, we can slap a Mace onto it and make it a 4/3 so it can still trade into those. Take a Conjurer there. I just really don't like the 2 mana 1/3 in green. I think I will take a Ranger's Hawk here because I'm pretty much committed to white and not so sure about blue. And then Mimic will throw in the sideboard here. Ooh, and we see Trelisara Moondancer, great card for green-white life gain. Whenever you gain life, putting a +1/+1 counter on it and scrying one. Instrument of the Bards is also decent, but it is very, very slow. But if this starts getting active, if it gets enough harmony counters, you just start drawing an extra creature every single turn, and it's whatever creature for the respective mana cost that you choose. So pretty great card here for just value in the late game. But again, very, very slow card. I think I would take Trelisara over that, and I think that is the pick I'm going to make here. Now we have Arborea Pegasus being pretty much the only playable card for green or white. Alternatively, if we just want a good card, if we don't want to marry ourselves to green quite yet, still leave ourselves open to being maybe red-white here because we have Hobgoblin Captain and Hoarding Ogre, we could take like a pair of Goblins, which is good if you're very aggressive, Burning Hands for some removal. I think Arborea Pegasus is a pretty great creature here, and because we're guaranteed playing white, I'm fine taking it, even if it is a little bit worse than potentially Burning Hands, Pair of Goblins, or Power Word Kill. It's still quite good, in my opinion, especially with Celestial Unicorn and Trelisara, where we could have a really big creature to give flying to. So I'm going to take the definitely on-color decent card over the potentially off-color just okay card. And I'm going to do the same here, Priest of Ancient Lore being quite good, but Hunter's Mark being really, really good. If we do guarantee that we're in green-white here. I mean, it is possible, however unlikely, that we could just be mono-white life gain. I think that is pretty unlikely, so. But whatever we end up being in, we're going to be heavily into white, and probably just whatever the other color is just going to be a little splash. And seeing a pick 4 adult gold dragon means I'm thinking we're going red-white, life gain, or potentially try to use a lot of treasure tokens to be able to splash in a little bit of green. Red does have some treasure production, definitely more than the other colors with cards like Hoarding Ogre. So we could be like red-white as our base, maybe splash in a Trelasara or something like that, but Adult Gold Dragon's an absolutely absurd bomb. 5 mana for a 4/3 flying lifelink haste. The turn you played it immediately slaps your opponent for 4 and gains you 4 life. Even if they kill it the turn after you play it, that is a huge life gain swing. And yeah, Adult Gold Dragon is an exceptional card. And wow, we are seeing a Trelasara pick 5 now. Ooh, I wish I had a lot of treasure token production, or I just wish there was a ton of mana fixing in this set, but there is not. The only real mana fixing is treasure tokens, and you don't get those till late game, so we can't consistently play Trelasara's turn 2. Maybe we try to do green-white as the core, splash in the gold dragon, but green and white don't really have much to make treasures. So it'll be a difficult splash, but Adult Gold Dragon's such a powerful card, and it also works with the life gain theming, that it would probably be worth the splash. We see a Cleric class here, another great card for the life gain decks. Things are really just panning out for us quite well. The only thing I'm concerned about here is how difficult of a splash throwing in a couple red sources for the Adult Dragon will be. Here we can pretty easily take the Steadfast Paladin, very great 2-drop for life gain decks, just a 2 mana 2/2 life linker. Really nice to equip a +2 mace to it, or any equipment for that matter. Alright, there is a Hoarding Ogre here, but I'm pretty sure I want to be green-white as the core with red as the splash, where Hoarding Ogre doesn't really help. So I would rather take the Temple of the Dragon Queen, a land that we can play, and choose any color when we play it to have it tap for that color. So this can help us splash in red here and just help us mana fix in general. So I will be taking that. And the reason I want green-white to be my core is because both Trelasara and Druid class are cards that are a lot better the earlier we can cast them. So even if we have a very small amount of green, we still want to have more green lands than red lands here, because Adult Gold Dragon is like, bam, that's a turn 5 card. Definitely taking another Celestial Unicorn here. Just another card that gets absolutely massive throughout the game. And I don't think we'll play any of these cards. Let's go ahead and look at collection. Looks like I have all of these already. I guess I could take a Plummet and pretend I'm playing best 2 out of 3. But I am not. Another Hoarding Ogre. We're seeing these go really late here. Red is probably pretty open here. Ranger's Hawk, sure. Filler little flyer there. And Find the Path. Now we're going to be too low curve and aggressive for this kind of card. That's just ramping into big stuff. Okay. So, how are we looking on 2-drops? We have Steadfast Paladin, double Trelasara. I could definitely use some more 2-drop creatures. We want like 5 or 6 to be aggressive. So Steadfast Paladin is definitely an important option. Kind of feel like I want Druid class more than I want Steadfast Paladin still, because it does gain life on landfall, but technically this is like another 5 mana card, because it doesn't do anything impactful by itself until we have 6 mana, actually, because then, I wish these piles worked better. I don't know why Arena's so buggy with these. You know what, no, I'm going to take the Steadfast Paladin here. The reason being, I want to consistently be able to curve out with good creatures in the early game, especially with cards like Celestial Unicorn, because we can get a lot of quick wins that way. And the Druid class is, what I was trying to say, is basically a 5 or 6 mana card if we want it to do anything by itself, because by itself the only thing it can do is make a big old land creature, and it can't do that till we have 5 mana plus an untapped land afterward. So now we have Cloister Gargoyle and Owlbear, 2 creatures that have a good enter the battlefield effect. I like Owlbear better. Dwarfhold Champion would give us another 2-drop to stay aggressive, but hopefully we can get like another Steadfast Paladin. And now we have 4 2-drop creatures, so we're doing pretty good there. And I think Owlbear is just a great card for any deck, so I'm happy to take it there. And bam, here we go. Grab a 3rd Steadfast Paladin, absolutely beautiful. Now our 2-drop creature slot is looking nice and full. A lot of good stuff going on there. And there's nothing much else in our colors. You hear something on watch is pretty decent because it gives us a defensive removal spell or an offensive spell, giving the field +1/+1. So both halves of this card are decent. And it's nice to have both on the one card. But I'm going to take the Steadfast Paladin there. And now we have triple Steadfast Paladin for turn 2. So I think triple Celestial Unicorn for turn 3 strikes me as a pretty good thing. We could also grab a Dragon's Fire to splash in, or another Owlbear later in the game. But I'm going to go for consistency in the life gain theme. Just get another creature that's going to be absolutely massive. And we could sort of just be white splashing in red and green. That's what it looks like here. We have very few green cards even, and just the one red card. And here I'll happily take another Priest of Ancient Lore, gain a life and draw a card when we play that. Always good. Another Owlbear. Good lord, this pack 3 has been excellent. We even passed up on an Owlbear to take another Celestial Unicorn there earlier. And we're still getting rewarded with more of them. Would like a Hill Giant Herd Gorger at the top end. Just one 6-drop in the deck, and it has a relevant enter the battlefield effect. Big old 7/6, and you gain life when you play it. I do like the Herd Gorger. Dungeoneer's fine as well. This would be basically one of our only venture cards, which is even fine in the life gain deck, because we can just make it so when we play that, we gain 1 life to trigger those life gain cards. Do like having the one of Dawnbringer Cleric, and I think I will throw it in here, giving us main deck enchantment hate against opponents that are playing their own Minimus Containments and Charmed Sleeps and stuff to shut down our creatures. And if they don't have a good enchantment out, we can just gain 2 life when we play this, which is relevant with a lot of our cards. So that's great. We wield the Druid class anyway, that I took a Steadfast Paladin over, so I will happily just take it here. And the reason I wasn't so prone to taking just another Herd Gorger there is, again, these Druid classes are more late game cards. They're not actually 2-drops. I just can't get them to come over here to the 6-drop slot for some reason. Take a nice aggressive Dwarfhold Champion there. This is going to be an aggressive green-white life gain deck. Really going to be just beating people up. Nice 4-drop here. Inspiring Bard gains life when we play it if we have cards that care about that, or just gives +2/+2. Take another +2 Mace, but now I'm not even convinced I'm playing the first one. We'll see. But we need to cut a lot of cards here, so it's going to be interesting what we want to cut to make room for. But this looks like a solid, aggressive green-white deck here. Biggest downside of the deck is the lack of removal. There's just not a ton of it here. Only 2 removal spells, Minimus Containment and Spiked Pit Trap. That being said, if we capitalize on just a pretty aggressive curve, we should be fine. Try to beat our opponents up before they play anything that is like a must-remove spell. I don't love Ranger's Hawk here. We don't get a lot of value from venturing into the dungeon, and I'm considering cutting the maces. So if you don't care about venturing much and you don't have any way to make the Hawks bigger, they're just the 1 mana, 1 damage a turn chipping away at your opponent, which is pretty unexciting in general. So these are some of my earliest cuts here, the Ranger's Hawks and the +2 maces are cards I'm considering getting out of here. Definitely Direwolf Prowler seems pretty filler. Gloomstalker's very filler. Those are just, I'm immediately cutting those, not even considering running those. And then after that, we need to cut 5 more cards. God, these Druid classes are going to be pretty solid in here. The biggest downside of the Druid class is usually just how slow it is, how low impact it is until you hit that 5th level. But when we have 3 Celestial Unicorns and 2 Trilasaras, making it so even if we're just gaining life off the Druid class, we're getting value. The Druid class is, I think, really going to perform well. Yeah, I'm definitely cutting the Hawks. Pretty sure I'm cutting the Maces, because I think we have enough going on late game that we don't want to just be moving equipment around onto our weaker creatures. Because it's going to be pretty likely we're almost always going to have creatures that are big enough without equipment Trellisaras, Celestial Unicorns just becoming that big in the late game, Owl Bears, Adult Gold Dragons, and Hill Giant Herd Corgers just being massive, so I don't really think we need the buff. So we'll get rid of those +2 maces. Plus we have a lot going on late game. We have the 5 mana cards, the 6 mana Herd Gorger, and the Druid class leveling up to level 3. We have a lot of late game stuff for an aggressive deck here. So finding the time to be mana sinking into equipments is going to be a little difficult here. One more card to cut. I don't really want to cut a land here because we don't have any treasure production, we don't have any ramp. Druid class doesn't actually count as ramp in my opinion. It does allow you to play additional lands each turn, but that's only if you've drawn those lands. The hardest part of getting 5 mana out on turn 5 or 6 mana out on turn 6 isn't the fact that you can only play 1 land per turn, it's that you'll have to have drawn 5 or 6 lands when less than half of your deck is lands. So, turn 5 or 6, you start with 7 in hand, draw 5 more cards by turn 5. So on turn 5, 5 out of the 12 cards you've drawn will have to have been lands. If you have 50% lands on average, it's going to be 6 lands, 6 non-lands. So that's why it's really important when you consider something as a ramp, something that's actually helping you hit your 5 and 6 mana cards. You want to make sure it's something that's actually providing a mana itself, not just letting you play the lands you already have in hand. Because if you're just playing the lands you already have in hand, it's very possible you've just only drawn 4 or 5 lands, and the Druid class, by letting you play additional lands, doesn't really help you hit your 5 or 6 drops because you just don't have the lands, period. So that's why I don't consider abilities that let you play additional lands ramp, quote unquote, at least in limited. So yeah, without any real ramp and the amount of 5, 6 mana stuff we have going on, plus the level 3 on the Druid class, we're definitely not cutting a land here, even though we're aggressive. Might even be worth it to throw another land into the deck. So that means we have to cut at least 1 card and maybe 2. Dwarfhold Champion's probably the least sensical creature in the deck because we don't have any equipment to throw onto it, but it's still a 2 mana 3/1 that just gets out there, gets the ball rolling. But even if we cut Dwarfhold Champion, we still have 6 2 mana cards, which is solid. 6 2 mana creatures. We even have Druid classes if we don't manage to draw into a creature there. So yeah, we're still doing pretty good on the curve without the Dwarfhold Champion, so I think that seems like a good cut to me. And if we want to cut 1 more card out of this deck, it would probably just be Inspiring Bard. Cut Inspiring Bard for a land here. Everything else in here is looking pretty gas, except Spiked Pit Trap. Card's pretty slow and not great for a removal spell, but we only have 2 removal spells in the whole deck, so I don't think it's a card that we can justify cutting. I want to have as many ways as possible to not just get bombed out by an opposing Adult Gold Dragon. Something like that. It is always good to have some removal. So I suppose we have Scry. I'm going to keep Inspiring Bard in and play 17 lands instead of 18 lands here. There's definitely an argument for 18, but my argument against it is that hopefully, fingers crossed, fingers crossed is never a good argument, but it's often my argument. Fingers crossed, we have Scrying on Trellisara to dig for lands when we need them or dig out of lands when we don't. We have card draw on the Priest of Ancient Lores, 3 of these, to draw an additional card. The more cards you see, the more likely it is that you hit more lands, because you're just hitting more cards, period. Each card you hit is a 40-something% chance of being a land. And then we have 2 Owl Bears as well, drawing cards, but I guess these don't really count as cards that are going to help us hit lands because we can't play them until we have 5 mana already. But the Trellisaras and the Priest of Ancient Lores for sure. These can help us try to hit our 4th and 5th lands, make sure we keep casting stuff. So I'm going to run with the 17 land build here, and we'll see how this green-white life gain deck runs. I'm very, very sad about the Adult Gold Dragon Splash here because we got a single Temple of the Dragon Queen to help facilitate that. We have, 1 treasure producer. We have Spiked Pit Trap. If we roll a 10 or a 20, we get a treasure token off this. So Adult Gold Dragon is going to be pretty difficult to cast here. It's possible, maybe even likely, that we're supposed to cut the Adult Gold Dragon for the 18th land here, or even just cut it for Dwarfhold Champion or something. But the card is so good. I kind of want to keep it in here. And the rest of our mana base is pretty decent. We still get to have 7 white sources, 7 green sources, and a temple. So hopefully we're not punished too hard by our mana base, but I would not be surprised if we lose at least as many games due to mana issues that we would have won thanks to an Adult Gold Dragon. So probably if we're being diligent here, we're supposed to cut this Gold Dragon. Because our deck has enough powerful stuff and synergies going for it without it that we don't really need it here. Yeah, I think my official competitive recommendation here would be cut the Adult Gold Dragon, throw in like the Dwarfhold Champion. But I want to play a Sick Bomb, and I'm going to try my best. This goes along what I've been saying, where the format is really difficult to splash in. Because you really should not be splashing in cards unless they are two different things, unless they're incredibly good, which I think Adult Gold Dragon is, or you have quite a bit of decent mana fixing. This format just really does not have the mana fixing. The one consistent form of mana fixing that you can get is treasure tokens, and that's locked into 2 colors primarily, just red and black get all the treasures. If you get a lot of venturing into the dungeons, then you could scry a little bit, and then you get a treasure token off the Lost Mine of Phandelver, so you get a very small amount of mana fixing by venturing. But in general, I would say very difficult to splash in this format. I would, the vast majority of the time, just not recommend it whatsoever. Alright, so I'm going to get our 1 mana down payment on the Spiked Pit Trap out of the way here. And then we'll drop down our Steadfast Paladin turn 2. That can curve into the Celestial Unicorn next turn, so we have a 4-3 out on turn 3, which is nice. Don't love that because they have the Priest of Ancient Lore, our Steadfast Paladin's just going to trade into that. That's not a great trade for us, but it's probably worth the trade when we have a Celestial Unicorn on the board, so I think I'm going to do that. Then next turn we can play Priest of Ancient Lore to draw us a card to hopefully hit our 5th land to get an Adult Gold Dragon out on turn 5. Hopefully that'll pan out well for us. Let's see here. Alright, so we take the trade. Unicorn is upticked into a 4-3. It'll be a 5-4 next turn when we cast our Priest. Or a treasure token, and we'll just cast a Gold Dragon. Don't mind if I do. Yep. I guess the downside of this is I only have 1 green source, so if I use the treasure token to cast the Gold Dragon, then I don't get to cast an Owlbear until I draw another green source. Is that a big enough downside to not just cast the ridiculous 4 damage immediately card? It's possible, because a 4-4 trample is also quite good on this board, and it draws us another card which is likely to help hit that 5th land for the Gold Dragon, even if we lose the treasure token. I'm going to play it a little bit risky here. The reason is we have a decent alternative if we can't just cast Owlbear next turn. We can cast Priest of Ancient Lore if we don't draw land, and then if we draw land after we cast Priest, we can even cast Druid class after that, so we can still do a lot of stuff. And yeah, now we do hit the green source for Owlbear, but it will come into play tapped, unfortunately. But we still have great things to do here. Priest into Druid class, or Priest into the Temple tapped. I'm going to pay like this in case I draw an untapped land. Specifically, I guess an untapped green source would be the only thing I'd really want to play the Druid class with. Oh my god, the extra text on Temple of the Dragon Queen coming in clutch. Because we control a dragon, it comes into play untapped. Oh. Well, probably would have been better to just slam down an Owlbear then. But I got so used to just treating this as basically an Evolving Wilds that I totally blanked on the fact that this can come into play untapped sometimes, because I've never seen it happen before. But thank you Thank you, Adult Gold Dragon, for the untapped temple. It's pretty nice. And we did get punished pretty hard for going with the Druid class route, because then they just play another Dawnbringer Cleric and killed it. Whereas if we had an Owlbear, they obviously wouldn't be able to kill that. That's not an enchantment. Well, that's okay. They still haven't had any removal for the Adult Gold Dragon, so it has done a ton of work here, keeping us at 27 life and them down to 11. They have found their second color now, white and green from our opponent, so somewhat of a mirror match, although they don't have a splash card, at least not yet. Alright, Adult Gold Dragon will trade for the Planar Ally, unless we just shoot it with the Pit Trap, so I think we just shoot it with the Pit Trap here. Keep that out of the way, keep our Gold Dragon going off. We did get a treasure token out of it, so I can cast a Steadfast Paladin right after this. Although, don't see much reason to. Well, if they're down to 3 life, that's a good enough reason for me. If they're down to 3 life, just having more creatures on the board is helpful. That way, even if they block every single creature I have, they still take at least 2 and go down to 1. And of course, with Trample, it's very likely we can just find lethal. They have to chump block with the Ranger's Hawk now. I think I do go for the all attack here, so I'll play the Celestial Unicorn first so that it gets a +1/+1 counter, or 2 +1/+1 counters from these life linkers. They can make some good blocks here. But I trample over for 2. I am losing the Priest of Ancient Lore, just to be as aggressive as possible there. But it's worth it in a position like this, and they do just scoop it up immediately. So 1-0 now for white-green life gain with the red splash. If I were a more clever player, I would come up with some clever names for the decks, so I don't just keep calling them random weird stuff like that. Alright, well there's Adult Gold Dragon again. We don't have a red source yet, but we do have a turn 2 Steadfast Paladin and a turn 4 Pegasus, so dependent on our draws, this hand could be pretty good, and even if we just hit a stack of lands, we're doing some things. And if we hit a mountain immediately, then we're doing good. If we win this game, then at this rate, we'll have to lose 2 games due to mana issues to make up for the 2 games we win due to Adult Gold Dragon. Maybe the Gold Dragon Splash will end up being worth it, but a lot of that is going to be luck dependent here. We've gotten really lucky with our mana these first couple games. So our opponent's playing blue, white, and black, so they're incredibly likely to have removal for our Gold Dragon immediately. So hopefully they tap out this turn, so at least we get 1 attack out with it, and they do tap out. So we do get the 1 attack with the Gold Dragon here. Okay, so I can reveal a dragon for the temple. So I do this for green, reveal this. That way if I draw an Owlbear next turn, I can just immediately cast it. Because otherwise, if they kill Adult Gold Dragon and then I draw for a turn, if I had just played a Plains this turn, then if that draw is an Owlbear, I can't cast it, because then I just play Temple tapped. Anyways, back to the game. They have a Flumph. Flumph is adorable. Whenever it's dealt damage, each player draws a card, and it's a 0/4 blocker, so it doesn't block our Gold Dragon, but certainly blocks the Arborea Pegasus and starts feeding us both cards. Helps them draw into a removal spell here if they don't have one already, which I assume they don't, because I feel like they would cast it this turn if they did. We draw a Dawnbringer Cleric, so if they have Minimus Containment or Charmed Sleep as their removal spell, we get to hold on to this Cleric to deal with that, which is absolutely wonderful. Do I want to Minimus Containment Flumph? I don't know if that's worth it. It might be worth it. We get in for 6, kill them in 2 turns then, and they don't get to draw extra cards to potentially hit removal. That feels so wrong, because Flumph is generally considered to be kind of a wonky little weak creature, but just getting it out of the way here actually is probably worth it. Puts them dead in 2 turns. prevents them from drawing additional cards there. Alright, well, they did bounce the adult gold dragon there, so I do have to recast it next turn, and they are now not dead in 2 turns. So maybe Minimus Containment on the Flumph is going to come back to bite us a bit. Can easily take all this damage with the amount of life gain the gold dragon has given us. Another clever conjurer for them. If they have a counterspell here, it's going to be sad, but there is no way to play around a counterspell when they know that we have gold dragon in hand. So just go for it. Alright, no counter. Keep the race going. Get another lifelinker on the board. Have they drawn into removal? Alright, well, I guess removing the Flumph did pan out, because the one thing to consider there, even though we didn't get to go for the 2-turn lethal, thanks to removing Flumph, we did still stop them from potentially drawing 2 more cards there, digging farther into their deck for removal, because they could have blocked that Arborea Pegasus multiple times, giving us both card draws. So 2-0 it is. Pretty great luck with the mana so far, and just the draws in general. Obviously drawing Adult Gold Dragon both games is pretty ridiculous. Even drew the Temple of the Dragon Queen twice as well. So we're kind of just running to victory on the back of our Gold Dragon's wings today. Didn't get to play any Trellisars yet, didn't get to do anything particularly synergistic with the green-white life gain theme. So I would be excited to get some classic green-white life gain games going on here as things progress. But I suppose can't be too mad if we just draw Gold Dragon every game, even if it won't be the most interesting games. They'll still be good games for us. All right, Steadfast Paladin turn 2 into Unicorn turn 3 is pretty good. We have a Minimus Containment to shut some things down as well. We've got all the mana we need, except I think I might have a double white card in the deck. I'm not sure. I know I have a double green card in the deck, and we already have the double green we need for that, for our Owlbear. We have the red we need for the Gold Dragon, so mana's looking pretty good here. Improvised weaponry from our opponent. Really, really good start from our opponent here. Horde Robber into improvised weaponry, giving them access to 2 treasure tokens to just immediately slam down a Grim Wanderer as a 5/3. Pretty terrifying. I think we just turned that into a treasure token. Otherwise, we're just get slammed for 5 here. I guess I could play Celestial Unicorn and try to trade with it, but Unicorn's going to be our really big creature later on, with Cleric Class and Priest of Ancient Lore working together to make it bigger as well. Just slow them down here. They're black-red, so they're likely pretty aggressive. I doubt they play anything much bigger than a 5/3 anytime soon. That being said, 4 lands plus treasure token here. Yikes. Punished as hard as humanly possible for that, with the immediate Planeswalker that we now cannot get rid of. Get a Devil token every turn. When the Devils die, they deal 1 damage to any target. They can give their whole field +1/+0 each turn, including the Devil tokens. At 6 loyalty, they get an emblem where they get an additional combat step each turn. The ultimate's not actually that scary, because it just wins the game if they're already winning anyway. But those first 2 abilities in conjunction can get quite a bit of damage in. Those Devil tokens are going to be a big issue. So what do we do here? Just Priest of Ancient Lore, hope to draw into good stuff. I can only play 1 card this turn because I only have 1 white source right now. So I can't play Cleric Class and Priest unless I draw into a white source. I could play a 3/2, just block Horde Robber. I guess Celestial Unicorn's a better blocker than the Priest. But I think I need to draw a card and find some gas here. We do hit a Plains, perfect, so we get to cast the Cleric Class as well. Very good draw. I think here we're digging for our Gold Dragon again. Just draw that every game. If we do hit the Gold Dragon, if they just make another Devil token here, we can snipe the Planeswalker. So clearly, in hindsight, containment on the Planeswalker is better, but we have no way of knowing our opponent's going to have a Planeswalker. And in theory, a 5/3 is pretty much as big as anything's going to get this game. They do have a 5/3 trample as well. Our opponent's deck is absolutely absurd, and I'm pretty sure I'm mega dead. The Zariel into Orcus. Orcus I have played one time. I've drafted an Orcus one time. The one time that I did draft it, it wasn't on recording, but I did 7-0, the only draft I ever picked up an Orcus. This card's insane. 5/3 flying trample for only 4. It's already overstated for the mana cost, and it has really good under the battlefield effects, being able to wrath the board or return your whole graveyard back potentially with enough mana. No, our opponent's on just a straight 7-0 deck here. Not going to feel too bad to losing this game. I don't think there's all that much even our god hands can do against this start. Do I chump block here? I mean, I can trade with a devil token. 6, 7, 8. Jesus. I'm taking a lot of damage here. I think I kind of trade here. Hired Hexblade, draw a card off of that. Another Celestial Unicorn. Well, we can get 2 blockers out this turn. If I level up the Cleric class, I set it up to bring something back from the grave, but I do nothing on board this turn, which means I just die to the +1. Take 11 damage there. I probably still just die, even getting 2 blockers here, because they do give everything haste with the +1 as well, so if they have any other creatures in hand, they're going to be very angry and just slap me the turn they play them. Sellsword. Oh, this is actually super fine. That gives me a really good trade there. If they sacked the treasure token, that would have been a lot less fine, because it would be a first striker. But I suppose they have some enchantment hate in the deck, like a Beholder or something, to blow up the containment late game, is the plan. Yep, we just die in the sky here. We can't get any life. So, we get absolutely slammed here, but our opponent's deck is sick. They have drafted an absolute monster here. They even have the Battlecry Goblin, probably the best uncommon in the set, in my opinion. This card can be just so explosive, spitting out Goblin tokens and often just ending the game by itself eventually. Really great stuff from our opponent. Definitely cannot feel too bad about that loss. We were in the presence of greatness in that game. So 2-1 we shall be, heading into round 4. What an absolute beating there. I've drawn both my mountains again. I'm pretty good at doing that. So we are all set for Gold Dragon. We're not set for Owlbear. We're very far away from that. We're not set for Trelasara either. Our opponent's on the play, so we get to draw first. We have 7 forests and a temple in the deck. We have 8 green sources, 33 cards, a little less than 1 and 3. This hand is really slow until we hit the green source. And if it takes us 3 to 4 turns to do so, which it would on average, then we don't get to play a green card till turn 3, turn 4. I guess, I mean, Cleric class into Dongbringer Cleric to just gain 3 life there is fine. And if we hit any land, we just level up the Cleric class. So, like, if our opponent isn't aggressive, we can definitely live off our first couple plays. But if they are, this is going to be a really bad time. think I'm going to keep this and hope I'm just not on an aggressive mirror here. Hope that they're not another Rakdos aggro or something like that. They did have to mulligan, so they're less likely to have an ideal curve to absolutely destroy me here. And they had to mulligan on the play, so that'll be helpful. Triumphant Adventure is a little bit of a disaster here. They're not going to be like dealing lethal to us with that thing. It's only doing 1 a turn, but a first strike Death Toucher as an attacker means anything we block with just dies before it even deals damage. And they just get to keep venturing into the dungeon off this card. They're going to get a ton of value here. Definitely make up for the mulligan at the very least, and potentially just completely go off. So they are going into the Lost Mine of Phandelver, so next turn they get a treasure to play something big or a goblin. Eventually they'll be drawing a card. Definitely no blocks here. Again, first strike Death Touch just wipes our creature off the board without it being able to even respond. Precipitous Drop. Alright, this is looking very, very bad. Now they venture farther. Next turn they'll already be at level 3. They get a +1/+1 counter onto the adventurer, so we can't even double block it to kill it because they can first strike 1 damage to one, 1 damage to the other. Oh yeah. So the storeroom's coming up. We're going to get the big beats here. To the point where I think I'm supposed to just gain some life here. Even though they probably have like Minimus Containment, they definitely have Precipitous Drop as well. So they have enchantments to blow up with Dawnbringer Cleric. We're probably supposed to just get the 1/3 out, block the 1/1 at least. Not take too much damage here. I guess damage isn't really the problem, it's the fact that they are just beelining it through the dungeons. Yeah, no, maybe we just hold on to the Cleric. We have other life gain in the deck as well. If we draw a Forest, it's a lot better to be able to... If we draw a Forest, it's a lot better to be able to cast Trelasara and immediately gain life so we get the Scry off of her. So I guess I will hold on to the Cleric here. We're only taking 3 damage because they give a Adventurer +1/+1 counter and then slam in with a 2/2 and a 1/1. So, well, it doesn't look... Alright, that's a very weird choice in my opinion. But I guess they want to spread their threats around. That way if I have a removal spell, I don't just get everything out of here. But making Triumphant Adventure big enough to kill 2 blockers without dying, I don't know, seems like a pretty good deal to me. But I suppose they might have some Goblin Tribal or something as well to make great use of that Goblin token. With a Celestial Unicorn coming up, is that enough to help out here, really? I kind of just want to hit another green source. I'm just going to get rid of that Unicorn. We have another Trelasara when this one dies. Could stop their venture shenanigans unless they have a combat trick here. This attack makes me feel like they have a combat trick. So I don't know if I want to go for the double block on adventure. I kind of want to just block 1 there, and don't get as blown out. They probably kill Trelasara with a combat trick here, but then we just cast our other one. Like if I double block adventurer and then they have a combat trick, I just lose all my creatures for nothing. Here, at least, no matter what, I'm stopping some damage. It might be worth the double block, though. Just get the adventuring to stop. I don't know. Let's see what happens here. No combat trick. Okay. I'm very surprised by that. So I guess the double block on adventure would have been solid there. Precipitous Drop to kill Trelasara. That's fine. Now we get to cast the other one that was stranded in our hand otherwise. Druid class. That is quite nice. I think that makes it so I don't want to play my land this turn because I want to hold it for Druid class to make Trelasara better. But yeah, I just play Trelisar this turn. I definitely don't just slam down a Druid class and pass. You know, with the life gain, I have plenty of life. Again, while we're not getting punished by not having an aggressive hand, like by just dying to a bunch of damage, we are getting smothered in our opponent's card advantage and value here from venturing through the dungeon, which is almost more painful. I could play an Owlbear here, but I can also play a Druid class and level it up and get a counter on Trelisara. And if I play an Owlbear here, I am playing a land without a Druid class on the board, so I don't get the +1/+1 counter. If I play the Druid class, I can also level it up, so I get 2 counters on Trelisara and Scry 2. Because I get to play an additional land this turn as well. Then I don't have blocks for Triumphant Adventurer. But even if I play Owlbear, I'm unlikely to want to trade Owlbear into it. But I gotta get it off the board eventually. Yeah, let's go for the big Scry energy. Don't know if it's correct, but we will see. Steadfast Paladin I do like for helping trading with the Triumphant Adventurer. Yeah, I'm actually going to keep that. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe I just need to look for super high impact cards here. But being able to block Triumphant Adventure with a 1/3 and a 2/2 seems pretty good to me. Because then we just lose a 1/3 or 2/2 instead of losing a 4/4 Trelisar or a 4/4 Owlbear. Slam in the all attacks here. Another Precipitous drop, maybe? They've completed a dungeon, so if they had a Precipitous drop, they just cast it pre-combat here, kill Trelisar by giving -5/-5. So this is more likely to be a combat trick than it was last time. Because it's definitely not them just doing the same thing. Okay, well now they've put a counter on Venture, so I can't double block kill with Paladin Cleric anymore. Because then they just do 1 damage to both and kill them both before it dies. I think I just do that, let them do whatever combat tricks they've got. Manticore, alright, that'll finish off the Cleric. Interesting. Might have been a misclick, but they may have some reason for wanting Trelisar out. I don't know. Probably a misclick, I would say. So, I mean, we're taking like 6 damage a turn, so I could just go aggressive with Druid class here. Because I am a light life gain deck. So I can go down to 10. If I activate Druid class here, I'm attacking with a 4/4 and a 6/6. I hit them for 10 and then I take 6. I am winning that race. I could also just level up Cleric class once and play a Steadfast Paladin if I want to do the defensive play, but that doesn't give me any good blocks because of the fact that their 1 ground creature is a first strike Death Toucher and the rest is all in the sky. But that does lend itself into bringing something back from grave, which is fine, but our stuff in grave is pretty small. I could also just play Owlbear, but again, creatures on ground don't help too much unless they're bashing in. I think I just go Druid class. Animate our mountain here. And just slam in. We're not going to outvalue them, so let's just try to outrace them with some big attacks. They have completed the Loss of Mine of Phandelver again. Drawn another card off of it. And a Keen-Eared Sentry. So we can't venture a bunch if we want to do that. Alright, well I don't have the mana to level up Cleric class and cast Steadfast Paladin anymore, but I could cast Celestial Unicorn and Paladin, or I can cast Owlbear. Kind of kind of like going with the double creatures here. Just bash in again. Play 2 creatures to spread out blockers. We may have to chump block Triumphant Adventurer. All depends on how things go here. So they chump block the mountain, go to 8. Unicorn, Paladin, get our board nice and wide for the crackback. They're hitting us for 4 in the sky and 2 more on the ground. I think I want to just take it all here. Ooh, Westgate Regent is a explosive bomb. 4/4 flyer. Whenever it hits us, doubles its power permanently. And in order to kill it, we have to discard a card to even target it in the first place. Okay. So they're at 8 life with 2 blockers. So they block here, take 5. If they block here and here, they take 6 and survive. We're going to die in the sky. We have to gain enough life to live. Can we? We gain 2 life and then just die to flyers. So if I level up Cleric class, then instead of gaining 2 life, we gain 3 life. Oh, wait, we don't have to level up Cleric class to do that. Okay, so we're going to gain 3 life off this attack no matter what. By gaining 3 life, we'll be at 9 life. If we're at 9 life, we can take 8 in the sky and survive. I can only play 1 creature either way, so I kind of prefer playing Owlbear in case I draw land. Then I can play the land, gain a life, get another counter on Trellisar and Unicorn and scry 1. Alright, no land, but I need to attack with Steadfast Paladin to survive their next attack, and I need to find a way to present lethal in response to their attack. So a way to present lethal next turn. I think I just attack all because they have to lose Triumphant Adventurer, right? Because if they just block, oh yeah, they have to block this 6/6 straight up. And if they block with Westgate Regent, that's great for us. If they block here, that's also fine for us. So we don't need any blockers on the ground because the only thing they'll have left are flyers. So we just attack with everybody here, sacrifice whatever it takes to send in some damage here. So that's a trade. That they just eat, and then they take 6. They go to 2 life. I gain 3 and go to 9. We can easily find lethal on the crackback if we can survive through the next turn. Alright. We get to scry 1 here as well to set up our next draw. I'll just scry that to the bottom. Arborea Pegasus, very much going to help with the lethal as well. Alright, we're at 9. +1. +1 power combat trick it is. Very close game there. Very close match. Well fought. GG. 2-2 it is as we move into round 5. Well, we've got the Owlbear mana already. Our opponent's on the play, so we're on the draw. I'm going to go ahead and keep this. Definitely hoping for planes as soon as possible. There's check for traps. Get rid of one of our cards in hand. They lose 1. Our opponent seems to be stuck on 1 color as well. Just double swamp here to start off. And they get rid of the Priest of Ancient Lore. There's the adult gold dragon to taunt us here. It may pan out how I was picturing it, where we are going to lose as many games from our mana base as we're going to win to the adult gold dragon. And this may be the big taunt at the end. Like, look what you've done. Look what you've done putting me in here. You fool! It was worth it for the first 2 games alone. Alright, so our opponent is on blue-black. They have found the blue source. Ooh. I kind of have to reveal the dragon here if I want to actually cast something this turn. We're forever from casting it, so they're very, very likely, if they have any counterspells in their deck, to be able to just hold them up for the rest of the game. But maybe they'll start holding them up a little too much. And they'll be holding up counterspells when we don't even have red mana. But yeah, just to curve out there, get an Owlbear on the board, I've kind of got to reveal the Adult Gold Dragon, show them the scariness. The counterspells in this format aren't particularly great, so it's not even super likely they're running counters. But that is just always something to consider when they're playing blue. Alright, Baleful Beholder is on the board. Definitely holding my creatures back. Play another Owlbear here, just dig for a red source, I think. Another white source is good as well, so we can actually cast 2 spells in 1 turn later. So this keep has actually panned out really well, so never mind all the disrespect I gave Adult Gold Dragon earlier, where I was like, oh, it's probably taunting us. At this point, the hand's paid off. Our opponent did not have an aggressive enough start to punish us, so we just got to the point where we're casting Owlbears, and the Owlbears kind of sort out the mana. We just don't have a red source, but that's going to happen a lot. It's our splash card. So I'm fine and dandy with what's going on here. I think I'd rather play Trelasara before the Celestial Unicorns, because I would rather be able to scry than gain life, but I should probably just play both Paladins. That way, I could cast Trelasara next turn, attack with the Paladins, and scry 2, even if they kill one of them. So, okay, they just kill one of them right there. I was going to say, even if they kill one by blocking with Beholder. But now next turn I can send in a big chump attack. I lose an Owlbear to scry 1 and make Trelasara bigger. And I'd actually rather lose an Owlbear than lose a Steadfast Paladin. So I'm very fine with the all attack here. Unless they have a trick. I think it's worth the chump here. And they go down to 7 too. Scry into a Plains. Don't want that. Alright, we'll just play the Unicorn. There's an argument for playing the Unicorn pre-combat. I probably should have just done that. Yeah, I wasn't considering the fact that I'm not drawing a card there, I'm just scrying, so we should have just played the Unicorn pre-combat to make it bigger. Alright, they got 3 blockers now. They can make 1 good block with the Beholder. So, they kill like Trelasara with the Beholder, or the Owlbear. They probably kill Owlbear there. Chump, chump, take 2, go down to 5. Definitely worth the attack here. Let's actually play the Unicorn pre-combat. Send in the board again. Trelasara gets bigger and we scry. Celestial Unicorn gets bigger. Another Celestial Unicorn. I just want that red source. Give me one of my mountains, please. So now they're at 4 life. They only have 2 blockers. So currently on board, they're dead. Or more accurately, what most people would say, they are currently dead on board. Sometimes my brain just doesn't work quite correctly. Okay, well. This is so sketchy. They didn't scoop, but they're dead on board. They probably have instant speed removal. They're just going to keep edicting me with Baleful Beholder if I keep slamming in all attack. It's got to be worth it here, though. Make them have it. And if they don't, it's like I just... Or if they do have a way to stop this attack from killing them, if I get in at least like 3 damage from the Bard, then I could still probably get to lethal Druid class. They do have the instant speed removal spell, so we hit them down to 2 life. We still have 2 creatures against their 1. And Bard class makes... okay, we have 3 creatures against their 1, and Bard class makes a giant creature next turn. Yeah, the attack's definitely still right there. I'm just shaking it in my boots here, because I'm always nervous. Displacer Beast. They get to the storeroom or the dark pool. Go to the dark pool to go up to 3 life so they can survive taking 2 damage. Still need another blocker to survive. Because I'm going to be attacking with 4 creatures. They need to be able to block all but 1. They can let 1 of the 2 damage creatures in. Of course, the 4th creature is going to be the giant land. Sphere of Annihilation to exile everything, but it's going to be too slow. Druid class is going to give us a giant hasting land here to close things out. They can block the 7/7 and the 3/3, but then they take 4, go to -1. So, was not too excited about the keep at the start of this game. I think it was very close between a keep and a mull. Luckily, our opponent was on a similarly slow hand, just trying to set up their mana in the early game, so we got to make it to our 5 mana, just start casting owlbears, make sure those kept us fueled with more things to play, to the point where we got our 2 white sources to cast 2 things a turn, and just go from there. So good game all around. Unfortunately for me, I believe I'm getting roped, so I may actually have to edit this video. Okay. Alright. They just thought for quite a while on if there was anything they could do, I guess. So, no rope. We're all good. 3 and 2 it is. Heading into round 6 now. Yeah, whenever I have to edit the videos, it makes it so I can make basically half as many videos, because it takes at least as long, well, yeah, it takes just as long to edit the videos as it does to record them. And I'd rather just spend any time that I have towards YouTube stuff, just recording more videos, give you all more content. But I don't know, maybe in the future I'll just do less videos but more edited. But yeah, just the processing time on these giant, hour-plus long videos is always as long as the video itself. So just processing the file when I'm done with the editing alone takes over an hour. So that is why I tend to do it just stream of consciousness. I'm basically a Magic Arena streamer, just in recorded form. Alright, this is a pretty great hand. Our mana's looking good. We have some great mana sinks on our classes that'll do powerful things later in the game. Our opponent starts with an Underdark Basilisk. I think I just want to get my classes out here. 1/3 is going to do very, very little against a 1/2 Death Toucher. And it could gain us some life, make our Unicorn better later. Do more work then. We do get the red source now, which is cool. Just going to play the Unicorn here. I don't have a reason to want to dump additional lands out right now, because I don't have a big card to ramp into. I'd rather hold my lands for after the Unicorn's out so I can make the Unicorn bigger. So bam, make the Unicorn bigger, slam in for 5 flying probably. Next turn we could Spiked Pit Trap to kill the Basilisk, potentially. I do need 1 more mana to do that, so I guess not. But if nothing else, I can start hitting them with the Pegasus itself. Another Underdark Basilisk. Well, Flyers is going to be the name of the game this game. We've got a Temple of the Dragon Queen. Can make the Unicorn really big, but it won't be flying here. So I don't see much of a reason to do so. Dawnbringer Cleric does nothing for us. We're just going to hit for 2 here. Is there any reason to upgrade Druid class? Not really against Death Touchers, because even if we get it to the next level, it won't be great. I think I level up Cleric class, so I can get to that Reanimate effect on it, which will be very good. Even just picking up a Celestial Unicorn from our grave will be good. Just another green source here, I guess. But now with the Cleric class upgraded, we also get to start putting counters on our Flyer to speed up our clock. So there's multiple great reasons to just level up the Cleric class there. Let's just make this Pegasus as absurd as we can. And if they ever kill the Pegasus, we'll return it from our grave with the Cleric class's ability. Next turn, if we hit a land, we have lethal, because we gain 1 life, put a counter on it, and then we gain a life off Dawnbringer Cleric, put a counter on it. And they're just going to scoop them up there. Just some mana issues from our opponent, with a good flying aggressive start from us. And I think I actually misplayed a little there. I should have played Dawnbringer Cleric last turn and just gotten the counter on it immediately, because then we attack for 6 that turn and then 6 this next turn. Then we would have been presenting lethal in 2 turns regardless of if we top decked a land. So that would have been better. But that will set us up for 4 wins now, 4 and 2. Whatever happens, we're getting at least 1,400 gems back out, so pretty much breaking even. If you count all of the cards I get to keep out of this as equivalent in at least 100 gems value, or the 3 packs as at least 100 gems value, which is pretty much the case usually. So we've made it to the breaking even, which is fantastic. This is a wonderful hand here. Turn 2 Steadfast Paladin, turn 3 Chelasara. Alternatively, turn 2 Druid class, turn 3 Chelasara. That's the only way to guarantee we get the counter and scry with Chelasara. I guess we could, actually no, you know what? The best sequence might just be Chelasara first, and then Druid class land on turn 3. I suppose it depends on the colors our opponent's playing. If our opponent's playing red, I kind of want to just start with Steadfast Paladin, because then if they have like the 2 damage or 3 damage removal, they might just blow that up instead of blowing up a Chelasara, but we have 2 Chelasaras, so they're replaceable. Luckily, our opponent's hand is not as good as ours, so they are having to choose whether they want a mulligan, giving us time to think on these things, but I'm still not sure. I'm definitely not sure what the correct line is between these 4 2-mana cards here. What do we play first? It's arguably any of the 3. There's a good reason for any different one. And it will be a little dependent on what our opponent plays, if nothing else, what colors they're playing. If we were on the play, I think it would almost definitely be just Steadfast Paladin first, but it's possible they even just have like a 2-3 or 1-3, like a good blocker out before we can play anything. And then the Paladin's not a great first play. I really don't want to play the Temple for green and then draw my Adult Gold Dragon, but I have multiple, I think I have like 2 Owlbears and only 1 Dragon, so I have multiple reasons to need another green mana and only 1 reason to need a red. Pretty sure I'm supposed to play the Temple this turn 1, because this is the 1 turn I can just play a tapped land and be okay with it. I guess I could play it turn 3, but it's possible that I draw into a Celestial Unicorn, in which case we'd want to have our tapped land out of the way. I think I play the Temple. I think I'm supposed to say green here, just to make sure we have double green in case we hit an Owlbear. But I really want to name red in case we hit the Gold Dragon. Okay, so now we have Inspiring Bard for turn 4. They have nothing out, but they're black and red. So they're likely to have a lot of removal. Do I play Druid class? That way next turn I can Trellisar Scry 1 even if they have immediate removal. I think that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do, because that plays the best into removal. We get at least a Scry out of it. Vampire Spawn is the first play from our opponent. They're black, red, and white. They slap down a little 2-3 there. Let's slap down a 3-3 and Scry 1, shall we? Cleric class? That's a keeper. Next turn we can cast a Cleric class and a Priest of Ancient Lore. Trellisar gets really big if they don't kill Trellisara. Alright. They kill Trellisara. We'll just play another one then. Must be nice. Scry 1, hit a mountain. There's the red source for Adult Gold Dragon. I'll absolutely keep that. Do I want to play Cleric class or Steadfast Paladin first? And I just play the Paladin here. Get more attackers out. They probably don't send that Vampire Spawn in now, even if they kill Trellisara. Maybe they do. It's up to them. Now, even if they blow up this Trellisara, Cleric class will eventually bring one back on level 3. So we're just going to go for the triple Trellisara game. Should be good. Dritzt Duerden. Our deck is very low on removal, so just big, balmy, scary creatures like Dritzt are absolutely terrifying for us. That being said, we can hopefully just have a big enough Trellisara to block anything they want to do. So, for 5 mana, what do I want to do here? I can play Cleric class and Priest, or I can play Inspiring Bard and Cleric class. I'm almost definitely wanting to play Cleric class, unless I draw a 2-mana card off of Priest of Ancient Lore. So I think I should just play Cleric class before I play a land. That way I gain a life, an additional life, just get a little bit more value that way. Oh my god, I tapped for white and then didn't play the Cleric class? That's hilarious. Okay. Meant to do this, so we're down 1 life. I don't know what happened with my brain there, but we'll keep that Priest of Ancient Lore. At least we gain the 2 life from the Priest, if nothing else. Scry that land to the bottom. If I attack with Trellisara, they can kill it by double blocking with Vampire Spawn and a 4-1. That's a fine trade. That's an okay trade. Or they can kill it by blocking with Dritzt. Those would trade with each other. That's also a fine trade. I feel like with the amount of life gain I have going on, I can probably get Trellisara just out of range of all their stuff. And with the amount of life gain, we don't have to really block anything. So we can just wait till Trellisara is ridiculously massive before ever sending her in. Okay, so I kind of like leveling up Cleric class. But we have a Priest of Ancient Lore going on here too. Now let's just go real deep here. Go for the silly plays. Just absurdly sized Trellisara. If they had removal to kill her, they would have done it already. And this puts the Cleric class 1 step closer to level 3. So now all we need to do is spend the 5 to bring a creature back. We're all set up to use that ability as soon as they kill our Trellisara. Just get her right back on the board. With much less +1/+1 counters for sure, but we're definitely the kind of deck that has plenty of ways to start getting them stacked on again. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 power, if you count the double striking. So we need to wait till Charizard's a 14/14 if I want to send in completely unscathed. We can make a lot of fine trades. Oh dear, Skeletal Swarming it is. At the beginning of their end step, create a 1/1 tapped skeleton, and if a creature died, create 2 instead. So we can just keep blocking both 1/1s, especially because we have lifelinkers. I guess there'll be 2/1s, right? Yeah, the skeleton has to attack. It gets +1 for each other skeleton, so the first time they attack is just a 1/1, but then it's 2 2/1s, which I can't just sit there blocking with a lifelinker. I do like just playing an Owlbear, having a big old 4/4 to block those skeletons seems good. But then I don't do any scrying. If I Priest of Ancient Lore, if I hit a land, I can cast Inspiring Bard as well. Get 2 cards onto this board. Sure, we'll go with a Priest. Ooh, Celestial Unicorn's actually a pretty good draw. And I actually like making Steadfast Paladin a 3/3 here so it can block 2/1 skeletons and gain life. Hill Giant Herdgorger's a great draw. They have some good rares at their disposal with Dritz and Skeletal Swarming. And I just realized they're 4 colors, which is really cool. But hopefully just the synergy of our great uncommons stacked together will be more efficient. Which so far it is looking to be. I'll just go all in. Alright. They got some kind of tricks or something. I guess we will find out. Let's see what kind of fancy stuff you got here. They use a pump spell on Dritz, and then every other piece of combat here works pretty well. Oh, pump spell on the whole field? Combat still goes pretty alright for us overall. Yeah, this is fine. They're down to a 2/3 and a 1/3. They do get a couple skeletons though, which is a bit scary. But we have a lot of big stuff coming out very soon. Yeah, overall we're doing just fine. So Priest of Ancient Lore is going to trade into the Fang Blade. That's for certain. Do I want to just play an Owlbear here? Do I want to bring back a Trilisara? I don't have enough mana to play 2 things here. I don't love playing the Herdgorger here because then we're not getting value off the life gain because we're going to put a counter on a creature that's going to die anyway. I guess I could put a counter on the Herdgorger itself. I think I just want to play an Owlbear. Keep drawing cards. Because Owlbear's just big enough to block pretty much anything. Just like the Herdgorger would be. And now we've drawn a 2-drop, so we can actually play that and Inspiring Bard. Or if I hit another land, I can play that and bring a Trilisara back, which is even better. Easy trade with the Death Toucher. Block on the Vampire Spawn. I guess probably Skeleton over a Vampire Spawn. Because if I block the Vampire Spawn here, they spit out 2 more Skeletons at the end step, and they're 4/1 Tramplers. So yeah, this way they're 3/2 Tramplers. Or 3/1 Tramplers. They're definitely really annoying. Another Death Toucher, another Yonti Fangblade, another Vampire Spawn. Alright, land would be beautiful. Dawnbringer Cleric's also beautiful. Just blow up the Skeletal Swarming. I don't know what's going on with my mouse, but I can't drag cards at all right now. Keeps dropping them off. Yeah, they just turn into 1/1s if I blow up the Swarming, so we absolutely do that. Yeah, perfect. Okay. And then we play Inspiring Bard. Gain some life so I can get a permanent +1/+1 counter on somebody. Put a +1/+1 counter on Dawnbringer Cleric, so it's a 2/4, so it can kill the Death Toucher if I want. Now we have great blocks. We just start making our good big old plays. Which I think would start with Trilisara so we can get scrying going on. Could make a really big Trampler, but they've got a Death Toucher anyway, so that's not... It's not beautiful. I think I still want to do it. If we ever draw into a way to get rid of the Death Toucher. And even if we don't, just making a big enough trampler might be good enough to just make a giant swing anyway. Owlbear's a beautiful draw. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. I want to make Owlbear like big enough to where they have to just throw the Death Toucher at it. And then we'll just make another Owlbear and start making that just as big. Alright, so now our board is definitely more than big enough to start whittling down the field, so I think we attack him with the giant Owlbear, attack him with the giant Herd Gorger, and then just play a replacement Owlbear post-combat. And then we get set up to also activate Druid class in the future. Since they won't have a Death Toucher anymore, this will just be a gigantic creature. Starts chipping away at one of their creatures every turn, probably just gets blocked by a 1/1 for a while. But as soon as we get rid of the Death Toucher, Trilasara can start attacking in pretty well as well. So we send that. Maybe even send Trilasara, but I think the fact that every land draw we hit lets us scry and get 2 counters is reason enough not to attack with Trilasara here. Alright, so the 7/6 just gets in there. Trample all gets in there, they're down to 11. And it's time for replacement Owlbear. And a Spiked Pit Trap is the draw. I'm just going to level up the Druid class, get it all set up to hit level 3. We have more than enough mana to play and activate Spiked Pit Trap in 1 turn in the future, if they play another Death Toucher or anything like that. Just a land for our opponent. And they scoop them up there. Alright. Really great game for the life gain synergies there. The classes being incredibly powerful as well, but Trilasara doing a ton of work. Just showing off that some of the uncommons in this format are more than powerful enough to fight through a couple of rares, like Dritstend, the Skeletal Swarming there. I suppose it was the Dawnbringer Cleric that saved us from the Skeletal Swarming. That one's just a common. Showing off the power of just main deckable enchantment hate like Dawnbringer Cleric and the Demigorgon thing. It's not a Demigorgon. What is it? A Beholder. Baleful Beholder. I don't know how I got those two things mixed up. But I like that card as well. I just like main deck enchantment removal. And even artifact removal in the format. Alright. We're on the play with a turn 1 Cleric class into turn 2 Steadfast Paladin, turn 3 Priest of Ancient Lore. Another absolutely beautiful hand here. On the play with turn 2 Steadfast Paladin is always awesome. However, Shambling Ghast is one of the big plays to counteract those aggressive starts. That'll just immediately trade with Steadfast Paladin. Uh-oh. Shambling Ghast into Clane. The absolute treasure combo deck here. Both of these having to do with treasures. The Ghast can make one when it dies, or Clane makes it so everything they cast with treasure mana gets a +1/+1 counter. Really scary start from our opponent. I don't think trading into the Shambling Ghast is all that great. I kind of want to set up to hopefully start going off with Cleric class's level 2 effect alongside Druid class here. That being said, do I just play Priest of Ancient Lore first? Because like I could put down the Druid class, but then I'm just kind of sitting here. Yeah, let's just draw a card off Priest of Ancient Lore. I don't think I'm attacking in and trading with Shambling Ghast, am I? Because my creatures can get bigger later. No, let's not. But here they might be able to play a big creature with that treasure token thanks to Kalane's ability. Oh yeah, Skullport Merchant. Lots of synergy from our opponent here. Another treasure producer makes one when it comes into play and allows you to sacrifice them to draw a card. They can even sacrifice a creature to draw a card, so they could sacrifice the Shambling Ghast and use its -1/-1 effect to just kill my Priest of Ancient Lore whenever they feel like it. That Skullport Merchant's also a 2/5 thanks to Kalane, so we don't get to attack in for a while, so we should probably just set up the ability to make our creatures bigger. I think that is what I'll do here. I'm just going to level up Cleric class and pass the turn. And then the plan is to have the great combo that we had before of Druid class plus Cleric class, so whenever we play a land, we get to gain life and put a +1/+1 counter onto one of our creatures. So that'll be excellent. Unfortunately, we can't get the Unicorn out and then play the Druid class, because then we won't have any more lands to play after that to gain another life. So we'll play the Druid class first, so I at least get to put a counter on one thing. I guess I could alternatively play Owlbear, but a 4/4 is not super good here against this 4/6. So let's just work at making our field wider, and the stuff that we already have out, making all that bigger. And I kind of like making Priest a 3/2 so it can't die to Shambling Ghast's ability later. But I also like making Steadfast Paladin bigger, so that is at the point where a 3/3 lifelinker can attack into a 2/5. That being said, we're not likely attacking for quite a while. We just need something to block Zombie Ogre. I guess we don't really. We're gaining 2 life off every land we play because Cleric class gains an additional life. So we don't actually need to block this Zombie Ogre anytime soon. So we can kind of take our time making our creatures bigger. So I'll just spread it out here. Warlock class from our opponent. They can use that on level 2 to look at the top 3 cards of their library, put one in hand and the other in the grave. And then on level 3, they start doubling the damage they deal to us. At the beginning of our end step, we lose life equal to the life we already lost. So if they hit us for 4 with Zombie Ogre, then in the end step, they hit us for 4 more, and we've taken 8. Alright. Kind of like playing Owlbear first, so I can get a Giant Trampler off of the life gain. However, it does make a pretty clear target for any removal they have. Ooh, Trelasara coming up. Maybe I don't want to play this Plains then, because I get to scry when I play a land when I have Trelasara on the board. But if I play this Plains, I get a counter on the Unicorn, and I get a counter on the Owlbear. But, I mean, they're not attacking us, so... They're not attacking us, and playing the land isn't going to put us in a position where we want to attack them. So, we can hold off on the land for a turn, in my opinion. And even if I top deck another land, I could level up the Druid class and just play 2 lands next turn. Alright, you find some prisoners, finds Priest of Ancient Lore to join their side. They have recruited him as a traitor against us. Very good with Skullport Merchant, gives you a very expendable creature to sacrifice to draw a card, and draws a card when they play it, so a lot of good value for our opponent. We're going to have to hope that we can just outsize their stuff with our classes working together. And in Black-Red, the only thing we really have to worry about that could kill our classes would be a Baleful Beholder. And that just, I'm very surprised they sacrificed Kalane there instead of just sacrificing the Priest. But I'll take it. Yeah, the only thing that we would have to worry about that can kill the classes would be Baleful Beholder, and that just makes us sacrifice 1, so we get to choose which class is less important, so we'd probably just sacrifice the... Oh. Never mind, I just realized how difficult of a choice that is. Anyways, we have a great setup here, drawing a Priest of Ancient Lore. Now we have just a beautiful turn here. Play Trelasara first, play our land, get a counter onto somebody, Get a counter onto both of those and scry 1. We hit Dawnbringer Cleric to get rid of the Warlock class if we want to, or just gain more life. I think it's worth drawing that. Even though it looks pretty small, being able to blow up that Warlock class is pretty nice, in my opinion. We gain more life, get another counter on Owlbear, and another counter on Unicorn and Trellisar, and we draw Adult Gold Dragon, which will be absolutely beautiful here. So I can attack with Owlbear. They can double block with a 4/6 and a 2/1 to kill it, which isn't the most beautiful thing ever. But it's not bad. I mean, their board goes down to 2 things after that, and the rest of our field can just go in for the big bash after that. Actually, no. It is pretty bad. They can double block with Zombie Ogre and Skullport Merchant, and we just kill the Merchant. Yeah, no, we're still not set up for great attacks. We're probably just trying to get in there in the sky with the Adult Gold Dragon. But our field's getting to the point where we're very soon going to have an attack where we can attack with enough big creatures that they can only really block and kill one of them, and the rest of them just kind of journey in unscathed. So unless our opponent has like a Wrath effect, I'm liking our position here. Even though our opponent does have a ton of value, we still have 5 more cards in hand. And the Skullport Merchant being able to draw more. The Zombie Ogre being able to venture farther. Grim Bounty to kill Trellisara. 1 less removal spell they could have on Adult Gold Dragon. And another Kalain. Alright, that definitely explains the sacrificing of the first Kalain. I suppose that is the one thing that I totally forgot to consider. She is legendary, so if they sacrifice one, then the next one can get cast without making them die to the legendary rule. And I'll throw out my Pit Trap here while I've got the extra mana to do it. But I'm not going to blow anything up with it, because I'm playing an Adult Gold Dragon. They have more than enough treasure to just immediately kill the Gold Dragon if they had an instant speed removal spell, so we know they don't have that. So I am going to just start dumping counters onto the dragon itself. If they do have a sorcery speed removal spell for it immediately, we only lost 1/1/1 counter, and if they don't, then we're getting in for more damage and gaining more life, so the counter is much better on the Gold Dragon than anywhere else. We still have a lot of great blockers as well as just being at 31 life, so I'm not really worried about the crackback. The main thing I'm worried about is our opponent finding ways to stop our threats. Just kill the Gold Dragon and then get a Death Toucher on board would be pretty bad. Alright, they're going to shoot down the Priest of Ancient Lore there, drawing a card off of it with the Skullport Merchant. They have a ton of treasure tokens, so any creatures they play will be coming in with a +1/+1 counter thanks to Kalain. Plundering Barbarian here. They can destroy our Spiked Pit Trap, which is fine, because honestly, I might be happier with them destroying that than with me having to decide what to kill with it. I was probably just going to sit on it and hold it to destroy a flyer if they ever played one, so... But Plundering Barbarian also just puts another creature on board, so... It's definitely the right play from our opponent to just blow that up, because another treasure token at this point is not particularly important to them. Another Druid class. Alright. I do like that quite a bit. I could just activate this first one. I could also activate Cleric class and get Trellisara back, which also seems good. I think I'll be doing that. Let's set up some scries here. We scry the moment we do this, and we'll also scry when the Gold Dragon hits them. We also get a +1/+1 counter on the Gold Dragon, and Trellisara and the Unicorn as you do. Just get counters everywhere. They still have 2 creatures that combined can block with 6 power and 11 toughness, so still a little difficult to attack it on the ground, even with like 8/7s and stuff. But wow, we really get to just scry away out from all these lands. Deadly Dispute. They're digging for sure. They've got a lot of value in their deck. They are down to 15 cards. We're down to 19, and we've drawn multiple cards. We've drawn off Owlbear, Priest of Ancient Lore, and still they have dug 4 cards deeper than us, so our opponent's deck is a well-oiled machine here. Price of Loyalty to borrow the Adult Gold Dragon to gain a ton of life, and then probably sacrifice it, unfortunately for us. Oh yeah, they have Skullport Merchants, so they just sacrifice it. That's not the end of the world. We can't get it back anymore because we have, of course, used level 3 from the Cleric class, but our creatures are getting big enough. We can start clearing out their board very, very shortly here. And honestly, I think I'd rather gain life off the Dawnbringer class than destroy the Warlock class at this point. Because I think this is the one turn they're actually going to get some life loss off on it. If they activate it right now, we'll lose a bunch of life, but after that, like, they're never going to be in a position to attack us until they're going to win the game anyway, I think. So I'm not really worried about level 3 of the Warlock class, but maybe I should be. Definitely going to play Druid class here first, because I think it's better to do that than to try to just make a 5/5 here so I can get more counters as I play things. Alright. And with double Druid class, I should probably not scry any lands to the bottom anymore, because now just land draws are super active. Scrying might just be useless to us now. Alright, now we don't even have to think about it, because they fireball Trelasara. But yeah, I'm pretty sure like every draw we have is good now, because creatures are fine, and lands are actually really good. 11. Just throw the counter on the Owlbear, because the Celestial Unicorn's going to keep getting bigger anyway. Dawnbringer Cleric can gain some life, and again, just for +1/+1 counters, I would rather do that than blow up their Warlock class. Maybe that's wrong, but that's what I feel is pretty good here. And I can level up one of these Druid classes so I can turn it into a creature next turn, or turn one of my lands into a creature next turn. Game might go to mill. They're down to 12 cards. It's going to be a while before it does, but I could see a world in which they have enough removal in their deck to keep chipping away at these big creatures we have. But we have enough life gain and just enough creatures on board, period, that I highly doubt they ever get into a position to attack us unless they have like a really big bomb. Yeah, they get a big old 6/8 now, so we still don't have great attacks. So maybe they just draw too many cards and mill out eventually. But if they have a big bomb they're digging to, could be a pretty bad time for us. Chaos Channeler that digs farther into their deck, exiles cards from the top, so it mills them more. So if the rest of their deck is just more synergistic small stuff, we can survive through that. Another Celestial Unicorn's pretty spicy here. Level up the other Druid class to level 2, so we're all ready to start attacking with our lands. And pass the turn. We have 17 cards left, they have 11. Here comes that Chaos Channeler. Nat 1, so they get to draw 1 card here. Dragon's Flame, actually really good. That can kill this Celestial Unicorn we have here. Yeah, 3 damage instant speed. They're just going to kill our brand new Celestial Unicorn, which is really sad. Just throw that on there. This is going to have 6 toughness after this block. So they probably, yeah, they just sacrifice it to the Skullport Merchant. So I was going to say they'd need double Dragon's Fire to kill the bigger Celestial Unicorn there. 8 cards in deck now. I'd be incredibly surprised if they don't kill our 3/2 Unicorn. Okay, yep, and that is the play. And they do have the mana to level up the Warlock class. Not that it does much here, it's just going to hit us for 2. Oh, hit us for, yeah, 2 more. Another land. Get some counters on stuff, and the Druid class creature is going to be even bigger. Just keep making Owlbear massive, and then we'll make lands massive. We've already played the 1 red card in the deck, so we'll make our mountain a big thing. 11/11, 6/10. But that's 12 toughness off just those 2. They can go block, block, and a goblin. I trade my 11/11 trample into a 6/8 and a 1/1 goblin. But then if I do that, they don't have it to block the unicorn anymore. It's their best block on the mountain. It's an 8/8, so we can kill the zombie ogre with it. If they go with that and a 2/2 or something. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If they block like that, we kill the zombie ogre and the 2/2. Mountain has pretty good attacks here. Could even just send the 2 in. And then when the Owlbear dies, we start making something else bigger to the Druid classes and the Cleric class. But yeah, this way we clear 1 to 2 of their big creatures off the board, and if we clear 1 to 2 of their big creatures off the board, that's all we have to do for Celestial Unicorn to be attacking in just no holds barred. And also the other Druid class land to start attacking in no holds barred. Alright, so they go for the massive attack, or massive block on the Owlbear, so we get to kill the 6/8 Ogre and the 1/1. And that means not enough power left to block the mountain and kill it, so they can chump block or take 8. Alright, yeah, kill the 1/1 and the 6/8 here. Now we still have a 13/2 and an 8/8. They just have a 4/6 in terms of massive creatures left. And we're going to have another 8/8 next turn. Price of Loyalty, so they get to kill the Skullport Merchant. I mean, they get to kill the Unicorn with the Skullport Merchant, which is annoying. With Warlock class, I probably should have blown that up with the Dawnbringer Cleric. I was not expecting them to just start taking 13 power creatures, because now I have to chump block the 13s every time. But with Warlock class, Zombie Ogre hits us for 4. Warlock class drains us for 1 more because a creature died. So that's 5 total life loss. We go to 25, then we take 5 more in the end step. I think this is fine, and I think this is the best we have. Because I can't afford to triple block Zombie Ogre, or else I take 13 plus 1, so I take 14, then I take 14 more off Warlock classes level 3. I should have been expecting this amount of price of loyalties from red-black. In which case, they could be attacking us with like 12 power creatures, because we're just going to have 12 power creatures. So we should have cleric to the class away. On the Tomb of Annihilation, alright. Land here is great. Start making our lifelinker better. Another big old creature here. They have to chump block at least one of these. They don't have good blocks. We clear out a creature here, then we don't have good blocks for Zombie Ogre, but we're at enough life we can take another hit even through a Warlock class, unless they have another price of loyalty. If they have another price of loyalty, do we just sit here? Hope they mill out. Maybe we should be on the mill plan. But like this definitely clears a creature off the board. We have fine chump blockers. Let's see where this goes here. Chump block, draw a card. Take 9. They're at 7 now. We're at 22, but that can change really quickly with the Warlock class at level 3. If there was any way we were going to lose this game, it would be because we didn't blow up the Warlock class. So what seemed like an inconsequential decision earlier is panning out very poorly here near the end. Black Dragon killed Priest of Ancient Lore, so I'm down to 1 blocker. Now I'm taking 1 guaranteed from the life loss. I really have to worry about that being able to fly in with a Warlock class alongside it. Dragon's Fire to kill the Paladin, and I think that's just game. I lose 8 life this turn minimum. They have a blocker for Forest. They kill me next turn with the Flyer. So 8 times 2, I take 16 here. I get cracked in for lethal next turn. Yeah, just attack Zombie Ogre, Skullport Merchant here. Then they chump block with Kalain to survive. Man. Maybe getting aggressive at the end was a bit of a mistake here, but even if we hadn't gotten aggressive at the end here, just pulling out a Flyer with more removal to back it up like Grim Bounties, the price of loyalties are still taking this game away from us if we didn't get aggressive here. We draw into Trilasara, that does nothing for us, they just chump block with Kalain and win. Brutal ending to that one, very well played from our opponent with a very, very synergistic black-red treasure deck there. Yeah, looks like the best hope we could possibly have against this deck is to just sit on our butt all game. Go for the longest, most boring game possible. But I think I might have... I got a little too bored and started getting a little too aggressive, and they find the kill off of it. So the biggest mistake of the game, definitely not blowing up that Warlock class. In the position we were in, it looked like they'd never get to attack, but I just was not taking into account the power of Price of Loyalty in these red-black decks. Absolutely destroyed me here. Price of Loyalty being the absolute MVP of the game. So we should have just played it as safe as possible, blown up the Warlock class, and sat there all game waiting for our opponent to eventually draw themselves out. We might have been able to find the win that way, might not, but it certainly would have been a better position to be in than how things ended up there. They did end up with only the 3 cards left in deck, so it's entirely possible we could have milled them out near the end there. So bit of a bummer of last game there. Definitely a misplay there that I will not make again. It's always good to make misplays to know in the future you will never make them again. Because whenever a misplay costs you the game like that, it's like, all right, that has been sealed in my brain's memory vaults. I will never not blow up a Warlock class again, because good lord, that Warlock class shredded us for so much damage throughout that game, even off just one life lost every time. But especially when they leveled it up to 3, that ended up being a lot worse than I expected. Either way, regardless, the deck did quite well, despite my best efforts against it in the gameplay. 1,600 gems and 4 packs is our prize, so great stuff there. 5 and 3, all around a great draft, great deck in general. So let's see what we get off of these 6 bonus packs. Another play that could have gone differently there would have been had we left our cleric classes level 3 instead of just bringing back Trelasari as quickly as possible. We could have gotten back our adult gold dragon after they killed it, but with the amount of removal they ended up having, I think Trelasara put in about as much work as the adult gold dragon could have done. So maybe in hindsight they didn't draw removal quick enough to survive bringing the adult gold dragon back, but with what we knew of their deck at the time, with what we knew of our deck, I think it ended up being perfectly fine to take Trelasara back and just get a bunch of guaranteed scries even if they kill her quickly. But that's one of those decisions that maybe in hindsight they didn't happen to have removal for a few turns, so we could have maybe lethaled them in a couple. But not something that we could guaranteed know, so I wouldn't call that as big of a misplay as the Dawnbringer Cleric play there. I just did not respect the power level of the Warlock class enough. Anyways, that will end today's draft, today's video. Thank you all very much for watching, as always. And if you want to let that YouTube algorithm know that you're enjoying the comment, you can toss in a like, comment, subscribe. But I will be back very soon, as always, with more Magic Arena. Thank you.